what does your whole typical day look like? Because that's like, I like to kind of look under the
Yeah.
hood. I'm like, how does Jennifer, because one thing you talked about is time to market. And
Yep.
it's just amazing to me. Like when you say you want to do something, 6 weeks later, it's there. Like, so that is amazing ability to like pacing it. Of course, there's
Yep.
people helping, etc. But like doing a business myself, I know I have challenges of time to market because there's
Yep.
something that I want to do 3 months later, it's still because the other stuff a higher priority is doing. So how did you like kind of combat that, and what does your kind of like typical day look like to set
Yep.
yourself so you can get there? Yeah.
Yep. So typical day. So I've always kind of had this mentality that when I, had kind of had some success in business, that I do not want to wake up to an alarm. So I wake
Uh-huh.
up whenever I wake up.
Yeah.
Usually that's around 7 a.m. So 6:30 to 7 a.m. And then the
Okay.
very first thing, I spend about 90 minutes of dedicated time to the most income producing activity that I can do that day. And
Okay.
then if everything else fails, if the day, gets away from me, whatever, I would have spent that first
Wait,
90
days gets
minutes.
away from you? I can't
Oh,
believe
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Things
Yeah.
happen. Kids do crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I spend the first 90 minutes of just really kind of focusing on income producing activities. I kind of look at it like a MVP of the day, right?
Yeah.
What's the most important thing? So I'm very visual. I have a whiteboard behind me that has every single week of like, it says like week of, so this week is this week of March 20th. And then typically the 2 or 3 things that I want to have done this week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I look at that every single day, every single hour, and just say, okay, am I on track? Today is Wednesday? Am I on track to get these things done? And it looks like we've done 50% of them already, and it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So then the other thing, so I only eat fruit before noon. Uh,
Wait.
so
Oh, okay.
so coffee, and then I only eat fruit before noon, and I found that has significantly changed the amount of energy that I have.
Uh-huh.
That's more related to like health and like our digestive
Yeah.
systems. And if we eat a
Yeah.
really, really heavy breakfast in the morning, then I found that I was very sluggish, right? Because it slows down the
Yeah.
digestive system and you don't have as much energy. So
Right.
yeah, so I only eat fruits, oranges, or like, bananas, oranges, apples until noon. And then after that is fair game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow. Yeah, that's maybe something I will pick up because I definitely hear you on that. Yes.
try it.
Yeah. And then so how do you balance kids? Like how do you balance kids? Like
Yeah.
what type of system do you do at home, especially you
Yep.
work from home, right? So that's
I
very
do.
difficult. Yeah.
I do. So I shut down at about 4:30, and then from 4:30 till we go to bed. I mean, that's just family time, right? So
Mm,
that's when typically, either I have to leave to go pick our daughter up, or when my husband brings our daughter home.
yeah.
So I'm very kind of purposeful with family time, and then of course, we go on these trips together, and I mean, we are 95% of the time not working when we go
Yeah.
on those trips.
Yeah.
And then weekends, same thing. Weekends are family time.
Yeah.
So I don't, I've actually kind of taken my phone number off. Like you cannot find my phone number on our website.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and then I also switched to anyone that wants a call, they have to schedule it.
Yeah.
And then anyone that reaches out that says, hey, I want to pick your brain or ask a couple questions, they get a response that says, please email your top 3 questions. If it's something that I can answer quickly, I'll answer it within 48 hours. If
Yeah.
it's something that'll generate a call, then, here's my link to schedule a call. So I've had to put
Right.
a lot of barriers between myself and our customers. And again, not
Yeah.
because we don't want to serve them and help them.
Right.
It's more or
Right.
less for me having that balance, because if I'm out of balance, I'm not going to be able to serve our customers and our audience in the way that they should be served.
Right. Right. Definitely. And I know when you're traveling, your meetups, etc., continue wrong without you
Mm-hmm.
there. So I'm
Yep.
guessing like that's another lesson, obviously, a whole different lessons on like partnerships and etc. As well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We bring, I mean, and even too, when I travel, our team runs the business. And
Mm,
interestingly, the first time when we traveled for 10 weeks, I had in my head, we are going to potentially lose some business, right? The business is going to go down while we're gone. And I had kind of mentally planned for that. The interesting thing is the business went up. So
wow.
as a business owner, I was like, okay, that actually told me that I was too involved and that I was potentially a bottleneck in the business. And that actually helped us make the decision to travel more the following year, is because I realized that that I was the bottleneck. And so I think for any business owner, to be honest, I think everyone should take 4 weeks off and see what happens in your business, good or bad.
Right. Yeah.
So Elisa, that's some advice to you.
Yes, definitely. When I take 4 weeks off, things falls off the wagon. So that tells me I'm the bottleneck. And so where do you find hire?
Yeah, typically by referral. So Dina, who is one of my entire team is incredible. But Dina was actually an investor client of mine. I met her she was a cold call to our office, and I met her in 20 either late 2010 or 2011. And so we've kind of worked together for 10 years. And then the company that she was working for shut down. And immediately I said, come to work for me.
Wow. Yeah.
And she actually I helped her build a real estate portfolio. And so she does not need to work at all. She does this because she loves it, because she's had success with investment real estate. And so, so everyone that currently is on our team has come into our database, or was a customer or a client, or got referred to us.
Nice. That's awesome. Because I mean, like, how did you recognize that they're a good fit for the team? I guess you do have somewhat written down criteria, know a position that you need to fill. And so when that person shows up, you kind of running down the list. Do you also conduct the interviews and et cetera? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I am always, I think that there's people that I am quote unquote interviewing that don't know that they're interviewing.
Or me, maybe.
No. Yeah. Well, so I think, I don't know. I always look for opportunities. And sometimes I think if a talented person comes into your life as a business owner, you make room for them, right? You find a spot. So Sarah, our most recent hire, she handles business development. I was not hiring for business development at the time. But she reached out to me and she said, hey, I got in contact with you through somebody else that I think very, very highly of. So immediately that, connection meant something, right? It wasn't a cold connection. And she immediately just started adding value. And then she said, like, on her second call, she's like, I kind of want to come work for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I think when those kind of people come into your life, again, you find opportunities for them. So as far as like how they will be a good fit, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes, so like I set that expectation up front, is that everyone is on a 90-day trial period. And it doesn't work out and of course for them, I mean, I'm not the easiest person to work for. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. And so they need to be comfortable and confident working with me as well, right? And be thriving. So, we are kind of, I appreciate relationships where we can be very candid and where I can push and they can also push as well. So we can challenge each other. So people who are maybe uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, or dislike, being challenged, or don't feel comfortable challenging me, right? That probably wouldn't be a good fit.
Yeah.
So we're very clear about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So setting up the expectation up in the front,
Absolutely.
And then making sure. Yeah. Great.
Yep. And then as far as, I do want to share too, like as far as compensation goes, I love giving compensation based on performance, right? So I like setting milestones with people and saying, once we hit this milestone, that will be your compensation for hitting that milestone. I think that does really well. I've even done that with contractors, my builder guys. I like performance-based compensation.
Yeah, but it takes time for you to kind of think about, like, do you come with the compensation, like the milestone with them, or do you kind of think about, like, I guess that's majority of the time now, you're switching essentially from a sole membership person to these are the things that I can put people in to replace myself because they're people for
Yep.
me. And then to free up your time to kind of think about like, okay, these are the performance metrics that we can put into places for that. Awesome. That's awesome. So Jennifer, we want to kind of like pivot this maybe a little bit more. You know, there's so many good nuggets that you're giving to us. I just try to catch them up. You know, about your business. Like, so I really want to kind of dig into you know, how you kind of started your business. You mentioned how you did that. And then to the first employee you hired. And maybe there's some failure that when you hire someone who didn't really work out, that forced you to put policies and process in place. And how did you even start putting process and policies in place? If you can kind of walk us through, like, when did you first start it? Was at first, I'm guessing you're only working by yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I made my first hire. So so we're talking about the real estate business. I also have multiple other businesses that
Right.
we can chat about too.
Yeah.
I owned an espresso stand. I had a drop shipping e-commerce business we could chat about too that were complete failures. So those would be fun to talk about. But yeah, so let's talk about the real estate.
Wait, do you still have the espresso company right now? Oh, okay.
No.
I was like, I'll stop for a coffee.
No. So the espresso and the drop shipping business were complete failures. So we can chat about that at some point. All right. So back to my first hire. All right. So my first hire was I want to say that was in 2011. And that was a close friend of mine. And so I brought her on part-time. She was still in college. And she was working for me part-time, mostly helping kind of organize, and actually had her drive properties for the foreclosure auction because, you know, we were getting 300 properties and doing that. And so I gave her absolutely no direction and basically said, hey, just come in and help. I need you to drive properties. And she did amazing. And I think that she did amazing because she knew my personality. And she knew that I was not going to slow down to give her direction, and she just ran with it. And so she was incredible. I lost her about 6 months later to Boeing. She got a phenomenal job. And at the time, my business wasn't, I didn't have the income to, you know, meet what she was going to make at Boeing, right? So,
so was she a full-time employee, or, because you mentioned about working with contractor first?
Yeah. So she was a part-time. She was a part-time employee. Yep. So she just was hourly part-time employee. The next employee was also a friend of mine, and I brought him on. He was also a licensed real estate agent, so he was independent contractor, and then I gave him bonus per closing. I would never do that again.
Oh, wow.
That was well, I think that was a not good compensation plan because I was compensating someone based on my efforts as opposed to theirs. And so that was my first attempt at the kind of bonus structure. So I would suggest nowadays I bonus people based on their efforts, not mine. Right. Because I became resentful. I was like, wait a second, I'm producing all of this and I'm compensating you based on that.
So did you lost employee because of that, or did you like kind of pivot the compensation instead?
Yeah. So we parted ways. You know, unfortunately, I would say the next, probably 4 hires. Again, the business was growing so fast that I didn't have the time, and I didn't make it a priority to slow down enough to train them and give them direction. And so as a business owner, that's a complete failure. You cannot, well, there's 2 things. You cannot compensate somebody that has no skill whatsoever and bring them on and think that they can figure it out. You can, though, pay more for somebody that has experience. And not so Sarah, our business development hire, I have not trained her in anything. And she is thriving. She is adding to the business, but she came with a lot of experience. And she did not start at an entry-level salary. So as a business owner, I think you have 2 options, right? You can go inexpensive talent, you know, people that maybe don't have experience, but then you have to invest your time and knowledge into them. Or you can spend more on a salary basis and bring somebody in that has the experience, and that's actually going to be a better return on investment for your business. So
Yeah.
I made years of failures of hiring people that had no skills in what I was needing them to do. And then it failed time and time again.
Gotcha. Because sometimes we feel like that is, and just speaking to myself, sometimes it feels like that's when you hitting the wall. Because, like you keep on hiring different people and you're like, gosh, I don't have time to train them, assuming they're thriving, but you're paying them like not really a high salary. Of course, they kind of fail, and then it really expose the downside of your business because it's not really documented or process is not there, and they really didn't know. So you were queen of pivoting. So at some point, I guess the first employee you had that she just ran with it, that really helped, like that maybe set you up for the subsequent failure because you just assume like, oh, this is something I can do too. But at some point, you got this figured out because now our hirings are very successful. And then what is that pivot moment and what is the one thing or couple things that you did that was significantly different that helped you set that up?
I brought in people that had experience doing what I needed them to do.
Oh, okay. So you understand it yourself. You're like, I didn't want to slow down to give instructions. So now I'm going to pay more for someone who has experience. Now that's a struggle with small business because you're always like, oh, geez, like that affects my bottom line. But you need to hire that person to go to the next ground. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah. So I think I was looking at it incorrectly before. I thought, oh, it's a low risk investment paying a low salary. They're either going to sink or swim. Well, unfortunately, it's actually not just the salary that you're losing out on. It's your time and then also opportunity cost for the business. Right. So by paying someone a good salary, the salary that they deserve based on their experience and only hiring experienced people, it may be 60 to 90 days where it's going to be, maybe more capital outlay than what you're comfortable with. However, you'll start to see results immediately. Yeah. And so same thing. And again, and if for some reason it was the wrong hire, then at 60-day mark, you're going to know, maybe even 30 days in that it wasn't the right fit. And so I think you have to move quicker with people. So, and hold them accountable too, right? Hold them accountable to the expectations that you had agreed upon when they were brought on. So so now I only hire or bring on people that have experience doing what I want them to do, whatever it is that they're doing in our business. Yeah. Gotcha.
So you look at the resume, even someone will come over and be like, hey, Jennifer, I want to get a job from you, helping you with this. And then you would say, oh, great, thank you. Like, send us the resume, you do the interview loop, I'm guessing, all the standard procedure for that.
Well, and also I think life experience too, as well. So there's resume, but then also like, what is their attitude, right? What is their life experience? Do they have a track record of success with other companies and building, helping building these other companies up? How do they get along with their coworkers? What does their lifestyle look like? Right? Are they willing to put in extra hours if the business needs it? Or are they absolutely going to be clocking out at 5:00 and be done? And which you as a business owner may need to make up that difference, right? So I think that there's experience in business and then in their career, and then also just their personality. Like, are they an all-in kind of person, or are they going to stop at the end of the day when, most people would clock out?
So I would guess, after several failure of hiring, you're probably, so is there like a mentor, a coach, or some sort of program that like helped you kind of accelerate it, or kind of just figuring out like, this is what I needed to do, or what I did wrong? Like, what is that kind of somber, pivot moment for you look like?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I just had to keep making the mistake and then figuring it out. Because as a business owner, it's really tough, right? So we have to wear multiple hats. We are often working in the business, on the business. We're sales, marketing, HR, accounting, bookkeeping, visionary, everything, right? The buck starts and stops with us. So unfortunately, I just had to keep making the mistake because I kept hiring out of pain. I don't know. I was a little worried about bringing on, high salaries for some reason. And so I just kept kind of taking on inexperienced people that I thought, I think I was looking for me, to be honest. I
Yeah.
was looking for somebody that was like young and hungry that could come in and learn the business and then add value, because that's where I've had success. But I realized that that's a needle in a haystack kind of person. So they're not those. That's really, really, really hard to find. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of had to realize that what I was doing, the way I was doing it, the way I was hiring, just wasn't working. Right.
Yeah.
And so finally I realized, okay, the common denominator here with all these people is me. I was the one that brought them on. And so I realized that, again, the common denominator was all of them did not have the experience experience and success in the role that I had brought them into.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so what did you do? Did you change anything other than hire the more experienced people? Because you mentioned you're very system oriented. Like, was there like some documents, videos, training? Because I've met business owner before. They're different style, right? They're very system process oriented, but also like a more integrator versus visionary, kind of like you are. So they had the challenges. They didn't have challenges on creating the training material. Where they had the challenges, obviously, other areas. So for you, giving your more vision person, like documenting, I guess, would it be kind of a draw for you, or did you enjoy doing that? Did you do anything different over there aside from hire someone who's more experienced?
Yeah. I mean, really, it just became more about like hiring people that are more experienced. And then also, I think, so I had made a lot of failures when I was working in the business trying to build a real estate team. And then now I am not working in the business anymore, right? So I'm more or less running Agents Invest and Addicted to ROI. So I'm not so much working in the business anymore. And so I think that changes things because I see things from a different perspective.
Right.
So the business has pivoted. So my hiring practices have pivoted and the business has pivoted. And I think that both of those things have changed. But we don't have, we have some documented systems and processes for things, but I'm very fluid and flexible, especially as things are changing very quickly. So we do have, though, kind of a mentality on our team is the best idea wins. It doesn't matter who it comes from. I don't want to also be the bottleneck for all of the ideas for the business. So sometimes the team doesn't agree with one of my ideas, and so we scrap it. And then sometimes somebody comes up with an idea and everyone else likes it, and I say, okay, no, we're not going to execute on that idea because of something else that they might not know about the business. So there's been some good pivots. I think that has changed everything.
That's awesome. That's a lot of wealth knowledge there. Now, we kind of talk about your families and etc. So for you, you have the only fruits before noon thing to essentially have the energy doing all that stuff. How do you kind of keep yourself from getting distracted, when you're working from the home office, right? I think that's a lot of challenge because I face that too. Sometimes when you're doing stuff, you're like, oh, I'm tired of doing something else, and you get caught up with other stuff.
So I do take breaks. I do yoga usually at about like 10 or 11. And so I do just in my living room, I do about 20 to 30 minutes worth of yoga. And then oftentimes after that, I'll do a 10 to 15 minute meditation session. And especially so if I am more stressed for some reason, I will double down on both of those. So I think sometimes taking a step away from the business, even if just for a half hour, can make a huge difference. So I think that's incredibly important. And then also just getting outside a little bit. There's distraction that happens, but honestly, again, if you can focus your first 90 minutes of the day in the most important activities, then the distraction is okay, right? The distraction that may come later is totally fine.
And then so especially when you're juggling a couple balls, because some of our audience will be like, wow, like I didn't really have time to do this.
Yep.
Granted, the rest of the time that you use, you may be wasting an hour stressing versus doing yoga for 30 minutes, right?
Yep.
But like, so how, you know, like a kind of, in terms of, you know, dealing stress, that's really great to kind of get the hours back to it. And it's also breaking down your goals into weeks, months, and etc. doing that.
Yep.
And now one of the example I'm gonna make is you have this great like class that you're helping people to try to retire in 10 years or 5 years, sorry. And you have these interviews and all that stuff back to back, just kind of scheduled.
Yeah.
How do you kind of have the burst of energy, or like, do you typically do these things? How does it hit the market so quickly?
Yeah. Yeah, so I outsource what I'm not good at. So we have somebody that does the video editing. We have somebody that does, like, I don't like writing copywriting. So we have
Yeah.
somebody that does that. So I also batch.
Copywriting. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, as far as like marketing materials
Okay.
for like emails, or because I think in bullet points, and those
Yeah.
aren't people resonate with stories, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so oftentimes I will give a bullet point or an outline for the message that I want to convey. And then I will
Okay.
share that with one of our team members, and then they'll turn it into a full marketing sales page or email or something like that. So
Awesome.
I stay in my strengths and I stay in my lane.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also batch content. So like you had said, when we were doing all those interviews, I had done like 3 1-hour interviews all in the same batch. Right.
Yeah.
And then I had the content from that, sent it to the video editor, and then he
Yeah.
edited it. So I think batching content is incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
And then also I don't allow anyone to schedule calls with me prior to 11 a.m. because again, I want to protect that like 90 minutes and also get my yoga time and things like that. So I think that as business owners, we need to protect ourselves from ourselves. We need to protect our time and put kind of barriers to protect that, and then just really get into focus time. So that's been really helpful. I also do we do grocery delivery services. Every bill is on auto pay. I mean, I do everything that I can to systematize anything related to the business and also personally.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, we'll kind of pivot into a little bit of family times and etc. So what are some life hacks that you want to share with us that like you're like, wow, like that kind of frees me up doing a whole bunch of stuff, but still continue meet the needs for the family?
Yeah. So as far as life hacks go, so I would say at least once a month we just like put on a calendar family activities that are just totally different, right? That get us kind of out there. So like we live in a city that has almost every weekend they have like, leprechaun hunt or chocolate walk or Easter parades or, trick-or-treating, like things like that. We also go on hikes quite often. I think that it's incredibly important to spend time away from the business. That's actually when I get the best ideas, is when I'm not stuck in the weeds of the business. So we do a lot of that. We spend a lot of family time out kind of doing different things. We like to, also do like arts and craftsy kind of things. This Friday, our whole family is staying the night at our friend's tree house.
Wow. Amazing.
So we schedule family time. There's always something that could be done between my business. Well, we're really running 3 businesses. My husband now also has his own business. We have our rentals, or maybe 4 businesses. And then we also are remodeling our house. Right. So we absolutely have to schedule family time. And then we also schedule those trips. Right. So we, just put it on our calendar to go away for a couple of weeks and we just have to make it happen.
That's awesome. And you mentioned grocery delivery services and etc. So that was one of kind of like the life hack, making sure you're eating nutritious, healthy meals, but you're not like kind of stuck into the cooking room, right? Of course, when you travel, everything kind of breaks apart. And you just committed to like, hey, just gonna spend pretty much 90% of time with the family and maybe only answer urgent calls. Or do all that stuff. That's amazing. That's awesome. So last question, what are you doing for your little one in terms of teaching her to set her up for success and learning the financial knowledges?
Yeah.
How do you kind of pass that on? Because she's 5 years old
Yep.
right now. And some people would say still too young, but like, what are you doing there? Yeah.
Well, so I can attest to that's not too young.
Yes.
No. All right. Yeah. So we do a couple of things. So I'll first start with the category of setting her up for financial independence. So I donate $100 a month to a custodial account, a Vanguard custodial account that is invested in the Vanguard index funds.
Yeah.
And so she's several thousand dollars there, right? So when she's 18, she will gain access to that money. I do hope that she uses it wisely.
Yeah.
But that's something that we just have on auto pay, $100 a month. That's set and done. She also is an authorized user on 4 different credit cards. My hope is that that will help her improve her credit score so that when she is 16, she can, go and, purchase her first car and, have the credit from that. When she is, I believe, 6, we can open up a regular bank account for her at a bank so that she can start earning interest on the money that she has in her piggy bank. And then she also has a piggy bank at home. And we have a list of, I believe she has 6 different chores that she can do in order to earn money for our travels. So we do not, I know this is going to sound a little extreme. We do not buy presents for birthdays or holidays. So we do not buy, so my husband and I don't buy each other presents. We don't buy presents for my daughter. In exchange, we do family trips, right? So that is our Christmas, birthday, anniversary, holiday presents, right? So instead of stuff, we choose experiences. But she is able to do these chores. I believe it's, something like if she puts away the laundry, she gets 25 cents. We make it a big deal. So she'll do the chore, we get her the quarter, and then she is allowed to put it in her piggy bank. Usually maybe once a month, we will count the money in her piggy bank. And then we do allow her to choose what she wants to do with that money. So she's currently saving up to buy a stuffed tiger on our next trip because she likes to get little stuffed animals from different countries that we go to. So that's something. And then we also have her doing Khan Academy Kids and ABC Mouse, where she's able to do lesson plans and earn tickets. And earning tickets allows her to get pets in pet stores on these little online apps and things like that. We also take her to our properties that we're renovating and and let her experience kind of our business and see the before and after. We have some really fun photos of her like carrying boxes and trim and sitting on, like paint cans as we're doing these renovation projects. And we explain it to her. We say, our family is allowed to live the life that we do because we buy properties and we rent them out, allowing other families to live in them. And she's very proud of that. So she, will drive by properties and she'll wave and say, I remember that house. So we really try to integrate her as much as we can in our businesses. We do a lot of things in that way. And then also, so my parents have a retail store. She oftentimes spends a couple, weekends with them, and they allow her. I have some really fun pictures of her working the cash register at my parents' store, and they love it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So going back to we have a little Jennifer, like the second version that we can use to work in our store.
And you know what? And she loves it. She, will ask when she can go and work in their store because of course she loves the reaction of the customers who get a 5-year-old handing them a little bag with the receipt and everything like that. So my intention in doing all of this is that I want her to choose her own path, and I want her to experience entrepreneurship, and I want her to experience the confidence in earning your own money, choosing what to do with your own money, and also having that responsibility of earning an income.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. There's so much wealth of knowledge over here. For both me and my audience, it's really a real treat to have you on our program over here. And very, very much appreciate your time for that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very passionate about these topics. So
That's
I love the
awesome.
opportunity to share, and I hope that we've added value to your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jennifer, how can we find you online over here? What kind of the
Yep.
business we can kind of connect with you on this?
Yep. So we have 2 websites. So you can go to either agents, plural, so agentsinvest.com or addicted2roi.com.
So I had this pulled up over here, addicted to ROI,
Yep.
guys and girls. And there's a lot of wealth of information on getting financially freedoms and courses, etc. And then the agents who invest, if you are interested.
Agents Invest, INB.
So if you're interested on buying your first homes and etc. or investment homes to kind of get it connected, buying out of state, etc. over here. Great. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Elisa.